And welcome back to the show. LeGrand Voyages and Sisters is actually slated to host the inaugural Teachers Appreciation Retreat in honor of teachers from the U.S. and the Caribbean. Now, the travel incentive allows supporters and community members to show their teachers' appreciation while at the same time being able to give back. Joining us now to share more details, we're pleased to have the co-founder of Sister Wells, Dr. Sherra Watkins, and then also we got the CEO and co-founder of LeGrand Voyages, Cristal LeGrand. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you. And Dr. Watkins, I'll start with you. I mean, this is an amazing give back, and to have the opportunity to really honor teachers. Talk to me about why teachers and how this got all started.
Sure. It started with simply Cristal reaching out and sharing with me about her business. And actually, it was just kind of like a match made in heaven. I had been wanting to do a retreat for actually helping professionals who were actually mental health professionals. And so we had started that conversation, and we're in the mix of doing that for 2023, late next year. And so as that's getting started, she reached out to me. She's like, I have a wonderful idea, but for teachers. And I said, I'm on board, because my first career, I was a public school educator. And I said, I want to go back to where I started. And I felt when I got to be a public school educator, we were overlooked when it came to resources, when it came to support. And when COVID hit, we were once again, we saw the resources once again overlooking teachers when it in the midst of this pandemic. And so I said, Cristal, this is a wonderful endeavor. How can I help the profession which I know where I started, which I came? And so we came up with this merger between Sister Wells and LeGrand Voyages to make sure we provided a holistic and comprehensive experience for teachers who are our first responders and who are truly the backbone of our community.
Yeah, Cristal, it's an excellent opportunity for teachers to get some refreshment, some retreat. And so these teachers are going to actually have retreat in the Caribbean. And so give me why the Caribbean?
Well, being an island girl myself, I absolutely had to advocate for St. Martin and the region. And we're actually going to Anguilla. And my company is based in St. Martin, but we work across the region in the Caribbean and promote the destination. The Caribbean is just aesthetically right for retreats and wellness. I personally invested in, creating experiences in the destinations that are all over. If you have the sun, sea, and sand, what better backdrop to have a retreat and be able to replenish yourself, rejuvenate, and come back with some energy to continue the great work that teachers are already doing.
So give me a little insight and take me into this. What do you have planned for the teachers once they arrive?
Sure. So once they arrive, we're going to have a 5-day, it's not too intense. So of course you'll be able to relax, but we'll come in and have a welcome reception. We're collaborating with the tourism office in Anguilla to make sure that the welcome to the destination itself is just filled with the culture and displays and food. Of course, if you know anything about the Caribbean, we're all about music and food. We definitely couldn't leave those out. And the next 2 days after that, we'll be focusing on the retreat program, which is being facilitated by the amazing doctors from Sister Wells. And then interspersed between that, we're definitely making sure that the teachers get to have some fun. So we'll be doing some hiking, we'll be doing some 4-wheel driving around the island tours, and as well as fireside chats. And we do have a culmination ceremony, which will be a gala dinner in honor of the teachers, because at the end of the day, we want the sentiment of appreciation to resonate with the teachers. We want teachers to know that we're not just taking the time to bring them to the Caribbean, but we're also appreciating the fact that they have stuck with teaching for X amount of years and they're continuing to serve their youth in their communities.
Yeah. Dr. Sherra, talk to me about mental health, because it's a very key component. And I think we talked in the beginning about COVID and the fact of what COVID has done in terms of taking lives. But, you know, it didn't just take lives, it actually took energy. It actually, you know, took some of our stamina away. And it really played an important part in the fight, I guess, in our mental. So talk to me about that mental health component and how that really plays in the lives of teachers.
Within the lives of teachers, I think that people forget that teachers are not one-dimensional. They are truly whole beings. And so teachers didn't just show up in classrooms without necessarily grieving their losses of companionship, within their losses of their plans, and also the losses of their family members and friends. And so our teachers, as these first responders, showed up still pivoting to take care of our children, while many family members still had to go to work and still provide for their families, while once again having to leave their families in their own homes. And so what we saw from research is that we saw an increase in anxiety and depression in our teachers, but even within their classrooms, they saw increases in anxiety and depression in their students. And many teachers did not necessarily have those tools to show up for themselves, but also for their students. The teachers got the training for technology and also how to pivot for that, sometimes at the very last minute, and they had to evolve from day to day and still show up. But they didn't necessarily get that type of training on how to show up for themselves and show up for their students. And so we saw increases in anxiety, depression, and sometimes what we call this new term called languishing, which is not necessarily knowing how to survive and be resilient from day to day, not necessarily knowing what do I want to necessarily be when I grow up, because we saw this new term called the Great Resignation, where we saw many teachers leave because their passion for taking care of and educating our community, our nation, was no longer there. And so hopefully through this retreat, we want to provide for the whole teacher, because they once again are our family members, they are our friends, they are our peers, they are our colleagues. And so for Sister Wells, we want to make sure that we're treating the teachers' mental health, because once again, we want to send them back to their homes, but also back into our communities and also back into our schools.
And so, Cristal, a little bit, how can the people, the public themselves, play a part in supporting this? This is great. I mean, obviously, to have teachers be able to have this retreat and to be honored, but you know, you can't do this by yourself. Of course, there's partnerships. So how can the public play a part in this partnership?
Absolutely. So intentionally, what we did was we wanted to be able to have a collective contribution from the community to the teachers. So we didn't want to kind of just only spearhead this from a corporate perspective, but also to involve the community. So community members can actually go to teachersretreats.org, and there's a donate button. You will be able to contribute any amount. So we're really encouraging persons to go to the website, read about the project, read about Sister Wells, read about the program, check out the itinerary. It's such a fantastic incentive and a fantastic initiative that we've been able to put together with our partners, and the community members will be able to see which teachers are being nominated for this. They'll be able to nominate teachers, and then they'll also be able to contribute to the teacher being able to go to the retreat. So right now, we're still in nomination process. We're nominating, we're reaching out to them to say that we're having this retreat in March 2023, and we are encouraging them, the community members of teachers or just any person, to come out and support those teachers that we will be able to bring on this beautiful experience.
So for people who want to take part in this, obviously they have an opportunity to support, and it's a great thing that they can do that. I want to get a moment with Dr. Sherra before we go, and just get your thoughts as to what do you feel this means in the life of a teacher that will receive this retreat and this honor?
For me, this retreat means that as our frontline workers, they are not forgotten. You may not necessarily be able to get the pay that you deserve. You may not necessarily be able to get the resources that you deserve, but Sister Wells and LeGrand Voyages, we want to make sure that within these next 5 days in March 2023, there are two companies and hopefully some supports from companies that will remind you of your worth, remind you of your mental health, remind you that though you may feel burnt out and may feel fatigued, that we will pour back into you. We will remind you that we thank you for everything that you have sacrificed for our communities. We thank you for teaching us to get us for our doctorates and allowing for us to create businesses and entrepreneurships, because without you, we wouldn't be where we are. And so we want to be able to, as we say, what we call in the rooms and within counseling, to give back what was freely given to us. So we want to honor you. So we're asking for many members of our communities and in our nation to take a moment to support this mission, to support this journey, as we want to give back to these teachers that freely gave throughout decades before, but also most importantly throughout this pandemic.
Well, I want to thank you both for joining us. Congratulations, and congratulations to those teachers that will be earning the opportunity to have this great retreat. What better way to honor them? You mentioned that they were first responders, and the truth is they were essential workers during the course of this pandemic, and they had to keep it going for so many students. And we talk about students trying to navigate, but it had to be an adjustment and an adaptation for teachers to be able to do the same as well. Dr. Sherra, I want to thank you so much for being with us, and Cristal LeGrand, thank you so much for being with us and the great work that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
My pleasure. Listen, I want to let you know again, if you want more information, don't hesitate to visit the website at teachersretreats.org. And